Every sidewalk poured, every school built, every neighborhood rising. It starts with the people who lay the foundation and the decisions that shape where the money flows and who it reaches. This mayoral race isn't just political, it's personal. For every corner of Birmingham, the stakes are high. BCNP presents Concrete Conversations. Real talk, real plans for a city ready to rise.
So good evening, and thanks for joining us. My name is JARROD Sims. I'm tonight's host for the BCNP Black Contractor News Podcast. Again, we just want to thank you for joining us. Tonight, we've got another one of the mayoral candidates with us. We got Mr. Frank Woodson. He is here to tell us about what he thinks the issues are. We want to know what the solutions are. We just want to get a better understanding of who Mr. Woodson is, so that at the end of the day, you as the community are comfortable with understanding what he truly understands about what he's about to embark on. That's very important. We need to know because we're about to take this journey with him or one of the candidates. So we just need to know, exactly how it is that he is going to lead us forward. And so again, we want to just welcome Mr. Woodson. So Frank, we finally got it done.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you, man.
Thanks for having us. At the end of the day, we're excited about what's going on because there's minimal engagement, and unfortunately it's around, like you said, the election time, but nevertheless, we've got it. So here's what we want to do.
Okay.
Tonight, we want to kind of hear from you as it relates to, how you see our situation. Okay. We want to know, do you see it as needing saving? Do you see it as evolving? Mm-hmm. And if so, where? Or do you see us declining? We want to know those kind of questions. I mean, and I think what's been happening with the other debates and what have you, is that the candidates hadn't had an opportunity to really share, perspective, where now we can understand exactly what it is you see as to what needs to be done. So again, those are the kind of questions we want to ask, and we just want to know, who is Frank Woodson?
Well, Frank Woodson, I'm a husband, a father, grandfather. I'm a businessman. I'm a philanthropist. I've made a commitment to live here in Birmingham, Alabama, on the western side of town. Been there the last 27 years. Children graduated from Birmingham City Schools. I made a commitment to the city. I look at myself as a solutionist. I look at ways to make our community work. I worked in corporate for 18 years, in management, UPS. I'm a retired Teamster, International Brotherhood of Teamsters. And so I have a lot of business experience in a Fortune 50 company, but also in the nonprofit sector as well.
Okay.
And for-profit. So
so it sounds like you kind of well-rounded. I mean, you've again touched all of the facets of what we would call a society. You've been at the top of those areas. So real quick, let's roll back one more time. You obviously weren't born a politician or a philanthropist. What did you experience, or what experiences helped shape that worldview that says, hey, this is what I
need to get involved?
Yeah. What
Absolutely.
What did that?
That we spent so much time as a community looking at all the little fluff about and performances of politics that we didn't study policy. We were losing in the policy game. All the highfalutin popularity and all of that, we didn't understand policy and how important it was to building and strengthening our community. So for instance, for years we had kids that had dropped out of school and they were just left out there in the streets. And nobody says anything about it. Oh, it's a shame. Another one of our children dropped out of school for years. But no one asks, what does the policy say? The policy says that our children can be educated up until the age of 21 by our K through 12 system. And we never had to give up on them because they were kicked out of school in their senior year, or they flunked out, or they didn't pass this part of the exit exam, and all of those things.
Now, let me ask you, are they still doing the exit exam? I hadn't heard that mentioned in a while.
They're not. But there were kids. Now it's moved over to the ACT, right? And so, and some of the other metrics and scores. The point is that for whatever the reason our children didn't complete their high school diploma, the policy says that the city school system would pay for them up until the age of 21 to complete their diploma, so that they didn't have to work in the sweatshops. The school system didn't think about ways of including them in their normal process. People like me, I'm a solutionist, I had to mitigate the challenges that the school system had and said, look, we'll take these youth, we'll put them in community-based sites, classrooms and churches and nonprofit entities, and the school system will get paid to teach them in these off sites. I found out that while most people were looking at processes and procedures, that we were losing the game in policy. We go down to the city hall, we do business, and the lady across the desk says, you can't do this or we can't do that. But oftentimes, if you know policy, then, which a lot of them don't know because of the turnover, if you know the policy, they can do it. And they have to do it a certain way. And we didn't know that. I began to realize that our community was suffering because we didn't know policy. And that policy is created and is exercised within the political system. And if I could use the political system as a tool, not as an enemy to fight against, but as a tool to work for us based on the existing policy, then there are things that we can do to strengthen our communities, to strengthen our businesses, to strengthen our education system and the quality of life for our families. I just wanted to win. And no one was giving us permission to win. So whether I was in corporate, whether I was dealing with unions, whether I was advocating for people, I always went to policy.
So my question is, is that an element of character or perspective in the next leader of the city? Does he have to have that as a part of who he is? Advocacy. Because at the end of the day, as much as you'd like to, address the policy in your mind so that it benefits, it's all still going to be subjective to the person's on the other side's interpretation of that policy. That's how
on the other side
of that was a part of putting the policy together and then saying or agreeing that what you're trying to do is going to be something they want to let happen. It's simple. I mean, at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
But at the core of, in my opinion, that next person, it was you that said this. You want to go back to the civil rights era. They were advocating in the civil rights era.
Without a doubt.
They were demanding.
Without a doubt.
So if we already have the blueprint, why are we doing something different? I mean,
we got sidetracked into DEI.
DEI is a late. That's a Johnny come lately.
No, I'm just saying where we are today. It's Johnny come lately. We got sidetracked into that. There were no civil rights. I think the last person that I saw fighting for civil rights was my college roommate, Dale Bloomer. I don't know if you knew Dale. The Linda Technical had the first technology company. I've never forgotten that people bled and died for us to have economic inclusion for our families and our businesses.
Because that is the expectation.
Say that again.
Because that is the expectation. I was just sharing this with a friend of mine. the issue with Miss Rosa Parks as to where she sat on the bus was not the issue. The issue was you charged me 25 cents and I got to get off the bus and go and get in the back, come through the back of the bus. Whereas if the other person is charged 25 cents, they get to walk. So the point is, if you're charging me the same thing, but I'm not receiving the same service or the same considerations. That makes no sense, which is why those are the folks that got us where we are today.
My mindset is a little different about policy. I don't see someone on the other side. It's not as subjective for me as kind of what you're implying, that somehow we got to have permission from the person on the other side, right? I look at policy a little different, right? Policy guides what we do. And so we have to create strategies that utilize the policy standing on 3 legs, not infers to it, but actually use it so that we can use it as leverage. I was telling someone about doing some things with the land bank. Well, do you think those people are going to let us do it? I don't understand that mindset.
Sure.
I just don't understand. I understand that mindset maybe for the people that are activists over here, but that wasn't the mindset of the NAACP during the civil rights movement.
I think here's how I think. I think we're both saying the same thing.
Okay.
I'm bringing it from the vantage point of, I'm just using, as you say, dollars and cents.
Okay.
The movement was about, what they started this whole thing about, taxation without representation.
Absolutely.
When it happened, she was not being represented, but she still got taxed.
Okay.
And they made her go to the back. That's the issue. So
I get that.
You got to have some measure of, because that was the policy. That was the law.
So now what happens is, in order for them to remove that obstacles, those that are holding it, now you're going to have to agitate and litigate. Okay? And so you're going to have to litigate.
But isn't that a part of advocacy, though?
Well, it's an extension of
advocacy.
Right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm advocating for this, and the devil only relinquishes what he must. Right?
Exactly.
I like what they did, the slave narratives, where this white man was upset because this ex-slave wasn't appreciative of his efforts of helping kids in Mississippi Read. And he said, I've done more for you all than any other white man you know. And the ex-slave looked at him and said, you got it bad. You got it worse than the other ones. He said, because you can't give me freedom. You can only block me from getting it. I have a mindset that there are things that we have an inalienable right to.
Absolutely.
I'm not interested in their thoughts or somebody over there. And I want to make sure that we have policy that backs that up and shows that they are blocking us in that. And so I'm not asking for that which I have a right to.
Absolutely.
I am now demanding.
That is the expectation.
Right? Well, it is.
I mean, that is the expectation.
But I look at what we've done here in this city. There hasn't been a lot of demanding. There hasn't been a collective voice to where we stand together and we bring the leaders from the various groups of the community together, and we stand and we demand. We don't ask. You're not doing me a favor when I ask you to do your job. You're not doing me a favor when I ask you for what is my civil right. And so for us, especially Africans in America, the Constitution becomes something that is super important to us, right? Because the Constitution stands on this thing that there are certain things that we have inalienable rights. We cannot be alienated from it. We don't have that energy. I've had that energy when I was in corporate. I had that energy when I was in the union. I've had that energy.
I agree.
Everywhere that I have gone.
I can hear that. So would you say that Dr. King, Reverend Showsworth, Mrs. Parks, And those alike, they had that energy too.
They had roles, right?
No, I think they had the energy.
Hear what I'm saying, right? There was something that they all bought into, that there was a thing called right, that there was a thing called truth.
Mm-hmm.
And truth that was sequestered will rise again, right? The arc of the universe bends long, but it leans towards justice, that there is a right and that there is a wrong. And that's a fire. And that in that sense of right and wrong also, they had a faith, let's say a point of reference for their faith too.
Sure.
So when they said God is on our side, that is a sense of encouragement, because what we are asking for is not only good, it is right and it is just. And I also have a sense of justice. I think all of them had some degree of that thing right there, to where they said enough is enough. That if someone's got to pay the price, I'm willing to pay it.
They paid it.
Okay?
In a lot of cases.
And others before them paid it.
Yeah. We didn't know about them.
No.
We didn't find out about any of them.
Right.
The only one we got was one guy, and that was Nat Turner. But there were other folks in my mind that had to have, who I'd like to celebrate at some measure would be John Brown, though.
Wow.
I really would.
He's extraordinary.
He was. I mean, at the end of the day, that is what you call being committed to, your perspective. So this is not, something that's going to be good for the camera or this.
Yeah.
This is who I am at the core. And so I'd like to see him celebrated too.
Let me say this, right? For some reason, God has me in Birmingham. My family came to Alabama in 1838 from Virginia to Dallas County, Selma. My children are the first generation in my family born with the right to vote. I want you to think about that. From 1838 all the way up, my children's generation in my family are the first born with the right to vote. And we act like that doesn't mean anything. Our right to vote didn't come with age. It didn't come with our gender. It is soaked in the blood-stained garments of martyrs. And that means something.
There was a sacrifice made.
A charge to keep I have. A God to glorify. And see, I've never had, because I believe there's a sense of right and wrong. I believe that our Constitution and that Bill of Rights means something. I've never had scared Negro syndrome. I've never been afraid to go into a room and say, this isn't right. When I went into management at UPS, guys would tell you, I'd go into these rooms and I'd watch brothers sell out and I'd watch women sell out as they broke the labor agreement to do what they wanted to do. And I would stand up and I would say, why can't we do what is right? Why can't we work by the labor agreement or the company policy? In order for me to make it, I had to master policy. And policy what allowed me to survive in that Fortune 50 company. And I understood the power of it. Why can't we just do what the labor agreement says, right? And that burned in me, and that has marked me to this day. I have a sense of right and wrong. I have a sense that there should be a mutual respect between us. And people don't always understand that. I think last night it got a little icy at first. People were icy to it. But there's an expectation of mutuality, of honor and dignity and respect, and it starts there. And once we begin to compromise that, then it eats away at us until the intestinal fortitude of the leadership in our community is gone, and then we produce a generation like the one that's in power now that has no sense of self or no sense of community. And so when they ask them to veto this right here, when they ask him to let's not pay attention to this right here, it's no big deal. He has no problem because it doesn't violate anything within him. No sense of justice, no sense of right, and no sense of wrong.
So
this is what drives me.
Sure. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Would you say that the mayor sets the tone for the city? I mean, is that how that works? Or would work?
The mayor should set the tone for the city. We don't have a city that has leadership right now. Leadership is focused on aim, vision, and direction. And everybody says, I'm going to vote for this current mayor again. I ask, where are we going? What has he done for the people? Because a leader is known by the welfaring of the people. What has he done? The expectation is so low that if they throw bread out and free tickets out like bread in the arena, folks will sell their soul and cry out against anything that says progress is demanded.
That's expected.
It is expected by some, but not by all. It is disappointment. And people in Birmingham are no longer disappointed. They're just frustrated. Because to be disappointed, you have to have expectation. And when you no longer have expectation, all you have is frustration. And we are frustrated. You know, I've got to run for office against people that have no executive experience and really have a conversation with you that these people are ready to go into a boardroom and negotiate with these corporate leaders who don't respect them. I have to have a conversation with you that you got legislators that work in the legislative branch, but not the executive branch, that would be comfortable having conversations with the lieutenant governor, the governor, the heads of these agencies. And I've done all of that. And when I talk with folks in our community, we have an even conversation. You know how frustrating that is? We have an even conversation, brother. Those folks there don't respect most of the folks running for office, and they don't respect the man that's in office now. It's supposed to be that where the mayor looks, that's where the corporate leaders look. Where the mayor looks, that's where the foundations look. If I slap this black CEO, what's going to happen over my shoulder with the mayor? Right now, nothing. Brother, let me say it again. There is no response or connectivity to you as a business leader in this city, or appreciation for the jobs that you provide, the households that you help sustain. There is zero connectivity there. The corporations know it. The foundations know it. And guess what else? The majority politicians know it as well. And all these folks have played in this little arena, man. People didn't even know. Yeah, one guy say it's the law. It's not a law. It's a study. And if you don't know that it's not a law and that it's a study, you don't know how it's used. Well, we got to have economic development so we can have some money. That's not what the disparity study is about. It says that if money flows in here, then there should be an equitable distribution of that money throughout the community. It's not about new money, man. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, wow, I got to have a conversation. And I got to compete with. There's no other job that you would send those folks to do if they had no knowledge of how to do brain surgery or whatever. They're not even there. have they demonstrated that they truly care about black businesses? Have any of them demonstrated? Do I have a track record of showing that? You may not know about it, but I do. You may not know about how the network has been created and is being created to strengthen urban and rural businesses across our state. And wanting to give it away to black chambers and all of these things, because as I find policy that works, how do we implement? Well, I'm not sure we implement the disparity study. We can implement some of the recommendations, but how do we do it within the current policy that's consistently shifting in America, shifting in Montgomery? How do we do that?
We shifted because, here's the perspective.
I'm talking about the leaders, right? So you're looking at 9 people going across there running. Which one of them has experience with policy and being able to use it in such a way that it does not, what we want to achieve, this study, without violating existing policy to create red flags, which makes the challenge a little harder. Now we're going to have to fight and litigate anyway. Yeah. But I'm saying, don't fight and litigate about everything. In other words, let me say this right here. Suppose it's how we name the program. See, I asked you a question the other day. I said, do you know how Hoare Construction was chosen to build the Family Fun Center downtown?
I told you I didn't.
Right. And so they did the same Civic Center play with the pasteboard. Right? In other words, the council doesn't have to vote on it at all. The city doesn't do anything at all. The pasteboard has the right to choose who they want to be the contractor.
Now, who's this now?
Pasteboard. Some board that was created by the city that now has authority. All right?
I've never heard of that.
Right? And so what happens is that they operate differently. The city council doesn't have to approve the contract of the architect. The city council doesn't have to approve.
Is the PACE a foundation?
No, it's not. It's an authority.
I'm not kidding. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is what I'm saying about policy. So that's why the city didn't put out a bid for the Family Fun Center. That's why you saw nothing in the city council minutes about an architect out of Atlanta being chosen. Right? We're not studying policy. We're not even in the game, man. That's what I'm saying to you. And it's now our people that are using this against us. So when I see it, sometimes it seems like I get outraged. It's outrageous to me that we would use the same bypass methods that are being used against us. I see red. And we don't even see, we're not even in the game. I see this stuff.
And so tell us about this PACE. That's what we want to do. We want to enlighten the people. Engagement is what this is about.
I don't remember what the acronym is for. They created PACE board some years ago. None of the people have any experience on construction and development or anything like that. They use them to do the same thing with Regents Field, the Negro Museum. And then it disbanded. There were problems with it and all of that. When they put the money for in the bank, PNC Bank, for the Family Fun Center, they put $15 million over there. And then they approved and put another $15 million. So there's $30 million over there actually, even though they're saying 15. You've got a Family Fun Center that's 20,000 square feet, about the size of the largest fire station. That we're going to put a bowling alley, a jump park, and what's the other thing? Bowling, a skating rink, and a e-gaming machine and a food court in a 20,000 square foot building, and nobody says anything. We're all quiet. We know it can. But then when the project goes to design review, what is approved by design review is a 35,000 square foot building. But nobody is saying anything about this. We're not even in the game. I've got to build an administration that will be working just as hard for us to include us in instead of working so hard to include us out.
Okay, Frank.
I'm just
No. Let it run. Let this run, because you kind of enlightening me. I'm trying to. I'm familiar with the project. So here's how I look at it. This is my
Right.
context and my perspective. I'm a contractor first.
correct.
That's what I do.
Yes.
And our history is such. My father started this company in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So as the young folks say, we got it out the mud.
Right.
You know, we've been subcontractors. You know, we didn't have license, both home building and general contractor state license. My father got the state general contracting license, and I eventually got the home builder's license.
Okay.
So, you know, we understand the context of why it is important to, you know, to get this done.
Yes.
I mean, we got to get this done. As an experienced contractor, we started at the bottom. So we've been a subcontractor before. We hadn't had the support, in my mind, that some others have been afforded.
Absolutely.
To develop a subcontractor base that, you know, can compete, as you said.
That's right.
And so I've been there.
Yes.
And so I remember how that was a struggle. They end up having to make a law about this, that when the owner pays the general contractor, he has 10 days,
X
if I'm not
number of
days, to pay the subcontractor.
So we don't starve you out like they were doing.
They were doing that. They would literally get the check and leave the check in the bank for 60 to 90 days, easily. And nobody said anything. And then you ask the question, well, why aren't there, or this? Because there's been a system that's, like you said, that's there that prevents you from scaling your business. But anyway.
Well, so this is what I'm saying, man. I'm offering my services, not for my company, but for your company and other companies like yours. Because I understand policy and I watch how it's shaped and I see when it's used healthy and unhealthy. I'm simply trying to block for you. So when you hear me talking about the policy of this thing, something as small as a family fund center, a $30 million project, I'm not going to make money off of that. I just think that it's wrong, that you don't have the opportunity to. That's what I'm saying. And there's nobody, including the current mayor, that even gets this.
Here's context.
Yeah.
And I was making that point for this reason.
Okay.
Because we're subcontractors, we understand that that climb. Well, as a general contractor, you know, those are the areas in which you can affect significant change.
That's right.
As a general contractor.
Absolutely.
You know, so we aspire to that.
Mm-hmm.
We're licensed state general contractors.
Mm-hmm.
If we are not the prime, or if it's a project that we don't have the ability to bond, I mean, we're fine with that, because there are a lot of other ones out there that we are allowed to. I mean, you know, we have the capacity to bond.
Absolutely.
So, because that's most important to me, I wouldn't be interested in the fund center, because number one, you know, for me, I'd want to know why we don't have a contractor that you felt worthy to be on the project, like you said, from right here. And again, that helped to put the money to create this prosperity in the first place. That's how you're paying for this. You're paying for this.
From our tax dollars.
Exactly. That's how you're paying for this.
I just want our contractors in Birmingham to have the right to say no.
Exactly.
That's the point that I'm making, man. The right to say no and to understand how the policy of government, not the politics, not all that stuff and you're in front of cameras, and all this isn't played out in front of cameras. This is played out in the little conference room outside the mayor's office or outside and I watch and I see how things are done.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? I know how to help our businesses in certain ways.
Sure.
Right? I understand how it's done. Let's say one of my nonprofits is $25 million a year nonprofit. I need you to help me raise $15 million. You as a GC and you as a architect, I need you to donate some drawings. He's on the board. He donates drawings. We'll call it the McDonald's house or something like that. You'll lead the charge. You'll call all your friends around and raise money to rebuild these things. And even give him a couple project managers when he needs them. They all clap. You raise the money. And then when it's time to select a builder, you get the no bid contract. When it's time to select an architect, you get the no bid contract. Because we don't see how the ecosystem works and how it's set up and the precedent that's set. I've studied it. I've watched it. Had an office in Mountain Brook 7 years. I studied it. I come back and I'm saying there are things that we can do to make progress at an exponential rate if we do it the right way. Right? And get the same results that we want.
Are we getting anything right in the city of Birmingham? I mean, is there anything that's good?
So, there's plenty that is good, but not necessarily for us. Okay? One of the guys I work with in Mountain Brook, he said to me, he said, Frank, you guys think everything's about prejudice. That's why you don't get the deal. He said, there are prejudice real now. I got some real SOBs, right? He said, but that's not the reason why you don't get the deal. He said, the reason why you don't get the deal is because when that deal is being made, there's nobody at that table that has you on their mind. When are we going to put a mayor in place that has us on their mind? 500 million came into the Jefferson County Commission. If they would have just put 100 million during COVID into each district and said, if they would have just said, we're going to put 50 million in each district, and they didn't even do that. And our folks didn't go there and advocate, agitate, and litigate for us.
But who knew about that though? I mean,
I tell you who knew about it.
Who knew about
the
it?
legislators, the county commissioners knew about it. The other three had so much money that they choked on it, asking for help and how to spend it. Just understand that other counties around the state didn't have a problem. And we weren't even in the game. So when the state treasurer tells me, hey, this is coming down, here's the policy on it, on how the money has to be spent, there's nobody to go to. You go to them, you talk to them, you say, here's what's happening. Here's how the money can be spent. Here's how we can turn every daycare in the black community into an emergency care provider to where they're getting paid triple, plus cleaning and all of that. And nobody's interested. What's the fire that burns in me? Why did I decide to run? Because I watched that. I watched 140 million come into the city, and they're not interested in us. How do you feel about working with them, Frank? How do you feel about working with the Peach people over here and these people over here?
You're elected.
Yes.
Who are 3 people that you'd bring in the room with you to help you accomplish the mission?
Tell me specifically, ask me the question about the specific mission. The mission to do what?
Your agenda as to how you figure governing, the style of governing, or your perspective as to what's going to change the trajectory of the city of Birmingham. That's important. I mean,
I'm going to take a team of leaders approach,
okay,
which is different than a leadership team. What we have now is a genius with 1,000 helpers. This mayor is the smartest monkey on the tree and doesn't acknowledge that he's not a subject matter expert in every area. We've got to have a team of leaders approach to where we have proven leaders that we bring in. I'm not talking about potential leaders. I'm talking about proven or established leaders to bring in to begin to operate and rebuild the infrastructure of the city.
Who are they? Give me 3 people. Who are they?
I'm not going to call their names. Right? I'm not going to call their names because of where they are. But I've identified people.
You have identified people?
Yes, I have. Who are proven leaders, who have capacity proven to do certain things. We don't need a novice. We don't need someone that doesn't have a proven track record and we come and bring them in economic development and we don't even have an economic development plan. You've got an economic development department, but no plan. You've got a economic development department, finance department, MBOC department, minority business, whatever, and none of them have a plan for creating a healthy environment for our businesses.
So what are they doing? I mean, I don't necessarily.
So what do we know to be true? What we know to be true is that they're not reaching people like you and people like me, and we're out here working every day. That they're not providing a service. That they tell you why you didn't make it, why you couldn't make it, why you didn't go over the hurdle. What ruined me was this right here, brother. Bob Riley wanted to give me a couple $1 million, become that HUD housing developer. ADECA says they don't have the capacity in place to do it. Bob Riley says, Sandra Shabir, drive up there and set it up for them. So they drove up here and set up so we could receive resources. And when I found out that government could work just as hard to include you, to serve you, what would that have been like, man, if your city was just as much for you as you are for it? What would it have been like if your city said, we're going to turn our Office of Innovation inside out, and what we're going to do is to say, you know what, you don't have these 2 pieces right here. However, we have this program right here specifically that gets you ready in an accelerated rate so you can participate. Those are the opportunities that we have in government. Make government work for you, for us, instead of figuring out ways to exclude. I am an operations management expert. Systems. I get it. I know what we can do. And you staff around that vision. And you find those people that get it as well. And when you call down there, they're there to not just provide a resolution to this moment, but to provide a solution to what you need to go forward. To have a team that will sit and say, okay, let's figure out how we can do this right here among this, and to say, look, here's a way that we could bring these 3 together and accomplish something. Here's how we did it in St. Louis. Here's how we did it in this particular place over here. We treat this like a business, man. We want to win. We bring in proven and established leaders that are able to get us, not to build the ecosystem that we want for small businesses. And then I challenge the corporate community. We did Blueprint Birmingham. We met for 12 months. And in the 11th and a half hour, they took out the small business sector. I had to know how Hoare Construction just showed up on the site one day at the Crossplex. Right? It just showed up. Hoare Construction, a black guy. They even put a black guy on there for Hoare Construction. Not HPM, Hoare Construction.
I know Hoare Construction.
Okay? And there they were there. Council has nothing to do with it. The mayor said, yeah, we've chosen a GC already. We've chosen a GC. Did you hear that? We've chosen a G. Who is we?
This is a night you don't want to miss. Saturday, September 20th, live at the Tuxedo Ballroom, presented by the Black Contractors Association of Alabama. It's We Are One, a tribute to Frankie Beverly, the young vocals in the movement, featuring Jubu Smith and DJ Chocolate. Come dressed in all white and toast to Black excellence. From 7 to 11, good food, drinks, and unforgettable energy. We Are One, a tribute to Frankie Beverly.
I study policy. I study how government works for good and how it could work better for all of us. So I want to build a city that works for all of us. Everything I do is data driven. So if the data says that Mountain Brook has more hungry people than Bessemer, I'm going to take the resources to Mountain Brook. I'm not going to talk about rich, poor. I'm not going to talk about black, white. I'm going to follow the data and let the data inform my decision making. Why did you make this decision? Because the data says this right here, and we just follow the data.
That's what the disparity study is.
Right?
The disparity study is the data.
Aha.
It's the data.
So now you see, that helps to explain what I was saying earlier. We don't, no matter what you call it the disparity study. I call it the data.
That's what it is.
One raises a flag and creates a fight. The other one is business as usual. There's no ta-da. You just have a process across the board where we follow the data.
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
But they were the one that came up, they being the courts.
Brother, I understand.
They came up with this metric.
They did. They said, well, so let me say this. They said that you had to be able to prove
right.
that there were certain data points that were prevalent and
sure.
they were repeating over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
And you could have called the study any name you want, right? But you needed certain facts. They said, in order to have a case that stands on 3 legs, here are the things that you need. 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's it. And so what happens is,
so you've got the remedy.
That's like an engineering report.
But wait, you've got the remedy as to how we correct this, because the data says that what the data says about the disparity study is that there is obviously a situation where there is no equity in our contract.
But what it doesn't give you the remedy.
It does. It absolutely does.
And you said, Frank, why do you say that? We know what the outcomes are that need to change. So now we've got to create programs that produce the outcomes and recommendations that are in the disparity study. So you don't just implement the recommendation, you have to create a program now to produce that recommendation.
Absolutely, we get that.
I wanted to say that. So that means that you have to have the wherewithal to be able to create a program that meets the other policies along with this right here to produce all these different things. That's creating, right?
We got it. Now here's the question.
I'm ready to do that.
This is the second one.
Correct.
This is the second one. Why is it so difficult?
It's not.
No. It's gotta be.
It's not.
It's gotta be. Because
I told you what it is. When this mayor sits down at the table to do the deal, he doesn't have you on his mind. Why is that? See, that's the thing. Denial, man. He doesn't have you on his mind. The last 7 months of 2024, he sent $12 million outside the city to nonprofits to work with our folks here. Sending millions to Atlanta over there with Slade Development where they are. They're not a Birmingham company anymore. She's in Atlanta. And they sent money across the United States to contractors outside of Birmingham. He doesn't have black contractors in Birmingham, Alabama on his mind. He has no value. He has no appreciation. He does not understand that we are in a place right now where we have labor pockets that are being created with this immigration stuff, that we've got to produce the next generation of skilled craftsmen.
This is an opportunity.
But you need work. But if we have $600 million worth of abandoned properties, and if you as a contractor will create an apprenticeship program that we will help you with, that will give that kid or that person a nationally recognized certification, we'll cover half their salary for the first 6 months. And if they're at risk, I got more dollars over here to cover the other half of it, so that you'll have more resources to put into your administration of your organization so you can grow.
I heard Pastor Bryant, Jamal Bryant, say this, and I've shared this before, that
he's pretty phenomenal.
He thinks that the black church got it wrong for many years, in that what they would do is always give out college scholarships.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
No, I heard somebody reference that, so that was him.
Yes. And
but we should be giving out
HVAC certification, electrical. In other words, we talk about AI. Yeah, it's going to affect a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
But not those that have to do with something that is a personable situation, like fixing a leak, putting a roof on.
Absolutely.
We know what's going on with the Hispanic community. They were dominating
That's right.
the labor pool.
That's right.
Here is not an opportunity to overtake it, because I don't see us doing that, but we could impact it at this point where we, like you said, we build the next generation of men and women builders that can help offset this aging construction
So,
community.
Ms. Sims, I've been working for you already, and I'm asking for your support to be the next mayor, because I've been working for you. 12,000 kids have quietly brought during the school day each year to build a bridge for those that want to go to college, find college scholarship dollars for them. It may not be at this college, that college, but there's money out there for you to go to school. For those that want to go into CTE or health sciences, build a bridge to the junior colleges. So we have a partnership with the junior colleges in this area, so that we bring those kids and they meet those folks and say, this is how you get from school over to here. But for those kids that want to work with their hand, we've got a partnership with the skilled trade unions, right? And some of the other skilled trades that are in junior college. And we bring them in. We have a section over there for those kids to go and meet those instructors and talk about, what you earn, how you do this right here. Here's what pipe, here's welding, here's this, right? We've got to create the bridges to opportunities. I've already started that, right? We've done 12,000 kids quietly, right? Remember I said we got to create programs within policy to make these things happen. So this year we brought 82 booths to the Civic Center during the school day. We use the school system to bust those kids in, because if they go home, mobility is an issue for urban and rural kids. So we have to mitigate that. I understand that they may not have the money for what we call application fees and the like. So instead of us making $800 to $1,000 off of each booth, we waive that, so they waive the tuition fees for the kids. The application fees for kids. See, we've got to design systems that work. That's what I do. I'm a solutionist. We build these things, and this thing has been going on for 12 years. 13 years. So since 2012, we did 2 the first year. right? And we're creating bridges of opportunity. But that's not enough. Next, we got to partner. We're going to partner with the junior colleges to put in each area these classes at night. So when our young men are working and they need to get skills with their hands and the like, they can go to that place and get training and whatever. So instead of the traditional night school, we're going to be putting those things into each area with our junior college system, classes in the community. Let's build the thing again. We have the capacity. We don't have to wait. We don't need permission. I'm not going to wait for permission to move forward. I'm not going to wait for permission to strengthen our business ecosystem. Just like we can create a pace board, we can do the same thing for a workforce development, economic development thing, to where those companies that agree to work with us, then we can use them to do this with our 20,000 empty properties. But then we've got commercial properties too, and that the city will not let us know about, will not put out, and they just let them fall down. It is if somebody has told them, I'd rather you just let them fall in than to put them back in service or whatever. I'm telling you, when I get there, and I need your people's help when I get there, we start working in the first 100 days to put things in place to turn that economic development office inside out and let you see what it feels like when a city loves you as much as you love it, when they are working as hard for you as you are to work for it and paying your taxes and getting them there before they come snatch you up. It's a different feeling when your city loves you back. You start feeling some kind of way. You start feeling like you belong to something, a part of something. See, I have a vision for this city, a vibrant city that is working for all of us, for our seniors, to make sure that there's a way for them to take advantage of the resources that are there. So case managers and the like, to help them with that. But we can do the same thing with our businesses, brother. And nobody has said you can't do it. And I know I can do it because I studied policy and I studied precedent. Right? We can do it.
Now, you win. 4 years later, you win. What are we going to be saying about Frank?
I don't think that's the question. What are you going to be saying about Birmingham?
I can accept that.
Man, Birmingham, we are going somewhere. You want to be here. There's housing available for young families. If you're 30 years old, you can have a house before you're 30 years old. If you are a veteran or a senior, you don't have to worry about the rents rising on you because you're owning a piece of Birmingham. Wow, Birmingham remembered us. Our fathers died in the mines of Winona and in the steel mills of Fairfield and Inslee, right? But now Birmingham, who has given to everybody else, Daddy, they have remembered you, and it wasn't in vain. You said that one day we will overcome. One day this nation will love us back. One day. I want to complete that. What will it say about Birmingham? Birmingham has completed that journey to civil rights. Fred Shuttlesworth, you can rest in peace. Martin, you can rest in peace. Your labor was not in vain. That's the legacy I want us to leave. Forget about Frank Woodson. Right? We're Birmingham.
Birmingham changed the world. It changed the world.
Brother, Birmingham had the most successful civil rights movement in the history of the world. There has never been any other human rights, civil rights movement to where the slave became equal with the master. Never. We're Birmingham, and we don't have that thing you're talking about, that je ne sais quoi. Brother Sims, I've got that thing. Je ne sais quoi. I don't know what it is, but it's that thing. I have that. God gave it to me.
Yeah.
This
I can
is-
appreciate that. I
You
mean,
can peel back my onion now, right?
I can appreciate that. I mean,
you know,
at the end of the day, that's why I said, do we need it? That's advocacy. That is the framework of advocacy. When you find a wrong, if the effort is to bring about economic justice, you said you like justice. You said you were a fan of justice. That's what you said.
absolutely.
Economic justice is what we need. We deserve it.
And it's what God wants us to have,
Period.
right? And I want to be clear, biblical justice is the punishment of the wicked, but the restoration of the offended. I want you to understand, Isaiah 61 did not say, go mine the ruins and take it away.
Mm-hmm.
It said, go build up the people. And they will, the people, will build up those streets, the generational desolation. And they will be called the people when they are built up, the restorers of the streets to dwell in. It drives me.
We're
It
gonna,
drives me.
we are going to have another type politician in this town. Somebody has to set that tone.
We're going to have a leader, man,
Because
who is unapologetically for justice, for what is right.
I like the way you're saying that.
All right.
Because at the end of the day,
I don't even want to use that term politician, because that's a part-time job for some folks to have, make a little money, have a little. We don't need another part-time job. We need a full-time person who has committed their life, man, to what we're talking about. We got to stop saying that. We need leaders in our community, man.
so is it safe to say that you don't think that in our political arena, you don't think people take those jobs, if you would, or opportunities to serve, you don't think they take it seriously?
I think leaders are waiting on leadership, right? The mayor's never led leaders. Nobody that I'm running against has ever led leaders. There are no leaders that have said, I'm going to go follow them. There are no corporate leaders that said, I will follow them. There are no leaders down in Montgomery that said, I will follow their leadership, right? And I don't care how cool they are. I don't care how they clack their fan or how they talk in a deep masculine voice or whatever. It's not appreciated. They sent Rosa Parks, but she wasn't the first choice. Rosa wasn't the first one to refuse. The other ones were bad candidates. One was pregnant with a child out of wedlock. Another one was divorced. Okay. You've got to send the right person at the right time. It's not any person will work, brother. God raises up a person, he offers them. And we have to have the ability to discern the moment. The sons of Issachar were wise because they were aware of the time. This isn't about friends and family. I love my sister, but I'm not going to put her up there. I want somebody that can go and be effective. And you got to look and say, who's going to be effective in the boardrooms? Who's going to be effective in calling those CEOs together and say, look, we've worked on this region. We brought the region through the 2008 economic downturn. We've done these things. During the 2011 disaster, President Obama wanted to make Pratt City a $1 billion recovery. Imagine what that would have done for jobs. And so the brothers from Atlanta had me set up the long-term recovery committee for Pratt City at that church Bernard Williams was at, Mount Moriah, Missionary Baptist
So
Church.
where is it?
The politicians blew it up. They blew it up. They couldn't figure out how I was going to get paid. I'm not getting paid. We're setting this up so that the money runs through Pratt City and not to the United Way and goes across the state. The president, he sent $1 million worth of lumber down here. I couldn't give the mayor to allow us to use the National Guard Armory to put $1 million of lumber there to help rebuild Pratt City. 2011, that was good money. I sent it to Tuscaloosa. The governor sent me another $1 million. It was a donation of lumber. Steel, no. The little politics and all that stuff. So they derailed it. State representative, neighborhood office, city hall, they derailed it. Finally, FEMA moved out of the 417 North 20th Street building. I had 2 offices there. I put clinics in different parts of the state. Finally, they moved down to Montgomery and moved the recovery and the jobs and the resources to Tuscaloosa. That would be ground zero for the rebuild. President Obama was disappointed. Those 3 black brothers with FEMA, they cried. And they said, is this what we bled, fought, and died for? Why am I running for office? I feel like the prophet that is saying, God, give us another chance. Give us one more chance.
So you really think you have what it takes to get us forward?
No, sir. I know that I do. I know that God has prepared me. I know that I have the relationships. I know that I have the cash, the knowledge, the attitude, the skills, and the habits, the character that I need to get it done. Right? I know that. Right? And I think what happens is just anybody won't do. I think that this is potentially our moment. And I really believe that. This won't be the highest thing I've ever done in my life, being the mayor. But it could be one of those pieces because it's Birmingham. That Birmingham will live out its legacy and the prophecy that's over this.
So what happened? I mean, what happened? I mean, how do we get here? How do we get here? How do we not know what we represent within the scheme of a society, within the confines of a society? I mean, this is taught all over the world.
I know. I had an office for 7 years in Mountain Grove. I worked with the leaders, discipling, whatever you want to call it, life coaching. And they used to say for years that Birmingham has too many employees. They used to say for years that the Civil Rights Museum is just too hot. Can you cool it down a little bit? Not all, but some. And it looks like this mayor listened. So he cut the public works from 2,300 to 500 people. Cut the police department from over 900 officers down to 390. Now it's back up a little bit more. Cut the parks and recreation by 40 to 60%. Didn't understand that the street sweepers were more important than just making the streets pretty. It kept the debris out of the storm. It's a part of the storm water runoff strategy. And so as the debris goes in, the creek fills up and jams up, so that when you get a shower, now the water backs up, because you don't understand why you needed the street crew, why you needed the drain crew, why you needed the brush crew. If there's a problem with crime, I'm responsible, not for the homicide, but I'm responsible for finding solutions that divert our young people into better spaces and opportunities to earn. Strengthen the nonprofit sector in order to shut down the hatcheries that are producing these alligators. When you don't understand that there's a connection between grassroots nonprofits and our children going in ways that are healthy and the like. You don't understand the importance of having someone engage that child and it changes their trajectory. So what? You arrested 17 black men. There are alligators coming up, 3, 4, 5 to replace them, and we don't even have the foresight to understand that. You're happy because you can lock a black man up or a young black kid for having a switch. You can get them a longer jail sentence. How has that served us? 3 strikes, you're out. By removing the population. You know what's even more bolder than figuring out how to lock them up longer? Figuring out how to keep them out of the system, period. That's leadership. We need a city father who has a heart for the children. Not cuddling, a heart for the children. We need a father whose hand is strong. But to show the hand of the father without showing the heart of the father is abusive, because it's the heart that says that the hand will never be too brutal. We need strength, but we need a heart that loves as well, right? This is what we need at this time. God has placed me here for this time, is what I'm telling you. It's not ambition. Man, one day I'm gonna get to be mayor and I'm gonna get to be somebody. My wife won't be a first lady, and I've never said that. This is our time. Come, let us fight for our children, our wives, our homes,
Our communities.
while we yet have time.
Yeah, I mean,
And you all got to decide who you're going to send.
here's the bigger point. You're saying all the right things. I would have to agree that at the end of the day,
Well, that's a start.
you're saying all the right things. What I'd like to understand unequivocally, though, you know, at the end of the day, the community is the focal point of this process. If we don't have that as the focal point or where we start, then, like you said, we're just getting off on
Well,
ourselves.
let me say this. Government can only go so far. I remember Steve Crocker asked me one time, he said, Frank, we were doing some mentoring. He says, but how do you know when a community is transformed? And I said, when they began to drive the transformational process. Isaiah 61, again. When Nehemiah rebuilt the wall, he put families, clans together, right? Government's not a fix-all, but leadership helps. I've given you a plan to stabilize the community and at the same time provide jobs for contractors, and at the same time have apprenticeship programs with nationally recognized certificates, and at the same time, by removing the blighted properties in these lots, seeing the high housing values go up, and at the same time driving in more dollars for the city for permits, license, and inspection, and at the same time ad valorem taxes increasing, more money for our schools, more money for our sidewalks, for streets and the like.
Let me ask you a tough question.
I've given you a plan for that.
Sure. Let me ask you a question, though.
Mhm.
This is a pretty tough question, and I never really get a straight answer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say all of that is in place. Project approved, money's paid for, or excuse me, the money is allocated, project underway, time to be underway. What if the contractor, what if he doesn't have any substantial inclusionary efforts as a part of the project? Would you shut the project down?
So you missed it from the beginning, right? there are certain aspects of the project that in order to move forward, these are the things that would have to happen. And so our PACE board or JACE board or CASE board would make sure that those pieces are in place. Make sure that those conditions happen that way. Because as I read to you, they have the ability to choose the workers and the contractors and all those other pieces right there. You gotta understand the policy that allows things to happen and how to use them. I would hope that that authority would do right and live out to what they say that they're going to do. But they will have the authority to do that.
Really, all 9 of you are saying this guy's not doing it right. That's what you guys are saying. I would do a better job than him.
No, sir, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that this guy's not doing it. It's not right. It's not a wrong plan. There's no execution. Family Fun Center started 2002. And then what I'm saying is that I have the experience to get things done. I have the experience to create programming, projects, and the like that has brought more than $300 million back into the communities across Alabama. Communities look like ours, mostly in Birmingham area, right? Over 300 million since 2008. And all that I can hear God saying, that's nothing compared to what's there. Just the housing and property alone would be well over 600 million. Because if you take a house and you put $80,000 in Birmingham's market, and you get it to where it needs to be, and you have the inspections and the like, all those kind of things, what's the after value rehab going to be worth in this housing market? So now you're starting to look at this thing and saying, okay, wait a minute, hold on. So if they were to sell this the way that our profiteers are doing and our investors, then they put it on the market at what, 180, 200 something, whatever, for what they're doing right now. The economic impact kind of goes a little bit more exponential. The 300 million is nothing compared to what we would do, right? It's not, and the big numbers don't bother me and all that kind of stuff. We did 50 million pounds of food during the pandemic, right? We did that, and which allowed me to see how food movement happens across the nation, right? And I could begin to see how we could do the grocery stores and the like for our food deserts in a way that would be innovation. So
let me ask you this. Many of the communities in our areas have downtowns because there have been affluent efforts going on in years past. Mm-hmm. Fairfield has a downtown, Hensley has a downtown, everybody has a downtown. Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot of development in the downtowns that I'm speaking to.
And you're not going to see any.
Hensley, Wylam,
nope.
Powderly. What would you do with that? How would you approach that? Is there anything you could do about it?
Of course there is. There's a reason why there's no development.
Why?
Right? So when we go to the EDAA Economic Development Conferences, when we go there, nobody from Birmingham is there. But when we go there, the people that invest and bring in developers and the like, it's very simple. They only do that in certain kinds of communities, right? And so it was the broken window theory, that if you go into neighborhoods and you see broken windows and they're not replaced, then that's a community that's in decline. And the community is in decline. Before long, you're going to start seeing graffiti, and you're going to start seeing more loitering. Hold on, hear this out. A house that is broken says that a community is in collapse. So when I come into your community and I see several broken houses, then developers say that even though this is great frontage along Bessemer Superhighway, even though this is great frontage along Highway 78 or whatever, or it's a great downtown area, buildings have great bones, right? If the community is in collapse, then that's not where you want, because when a community is in collapse, they already know that divestiture begins to happen with the city as well. That means that the city's not investing in that area either.
I'm 58.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen it in my 58 years where there's been a deliberate, intentional focus to develop those communities. At some point during my life earlier, Fairfield was kind of a productive place.
Okay.
When, that was a kind of a productive place. But as soon as the steel folks left, there goes the collapse. I'm still of the opinion, though, that the infrastructure is there. Downtown Main Street is already there. All you got to do is have or make it have value.
I guess I'm saying this. The people that invest their family's money, if they have a choice in investing in a community that is collapsing or investing in a community that is stable, they're always going to choose the community that is stable.
I get that, Frank. That's not the point. That's the easy. That one is easy.
The potential is there, brother.
But wait a minute. That's easy. I mean, we get that. I want to know what we do for these cities, these downtowns. What do we do for them? Because they not where you talking about being. And if we got to wait another 30 years to get that effort that you're speaking to, then it will continue to look like it is, and there will not be any down.
Let me say this. There was never, ever a downtown that was not first preceded by a need from the settlers and those folks that were around it, brother.
Sure.
Downtown is not the beginning of redevelopment. It has never been the beginning of redevelopment.
Here's the point. At the end of the day, those downtown, those areas, I think if they were, active, if there was investment by the city, I'm not talking about, a Joe Blow investor that's looking to get his money back right off I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the tax dollars that you afford, as you would say, those folks that have the stable communities. All these communities aren't stable. Norwood wasn't stable. I'm from Norwood.
Okay.
Before, I grew up in Norwood. We moved to Norwood in 1971. There was only one white family in Norwood during my growing up in Norwood.
So let me
finish.
All right.
They didn't decide to put the amphitheater over there because, in other words, it hadn't been that long ago that it wasn't stable. But they had the foresight to have, in my mind, to have both things going on at the same time. Not wait till it gets there.
I don't think they had both things going on at the same time. The first thing that they did was what for the last 10 years, right? They started the gentrification of Norwood.
Right.
So what am I saying that's different? Hold up, they didn't have both things going on at the same time. The hospital was in decay. It was owned by a ministry. The owners were scattered all over the country. All right, and so they started with the community beginning to sell to investors that this community can be saved.
Right.
Hold on, they didn't do both things at the time. You're talking about You're talking about Inslee. Let's begin to do this
Hold it.
without doing this first.
I don't think you're correct there.
That's not what you're saying?
Not so much that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. They were doing both at the same time. Trust me. I'm from Norwood. One of the first things they did...
So I can tell you that they weren't because I know the developers.
Hold one second. Here's the point that I'm making.
Okay.
Here's the point that I'm making. The reason that the developer has the ability to sell an investor on this being a potential opportunity for return is because of something that's going to happen. I've got to be told, in other words, why am I investing over here? So what would be the point of me doing that? So John, I can remember John Rogers and
so I know the guys that were buying the land.
Wait a minute, no. They were talking about domes and all that. They've been talking about that for the last 30 years.
All right. So it's hard. See,
they've been talking about that for the last 30 years.
A man with an experience is never at the mercy of a man with an argument. What they were doing in the play that they were running, I happen to be privy to. I happen to be privy to the real estate company and the guys that were buying the property. I happen to be privy to what their plans were around. People don't invest a bunch of dollars. So let me say this. They don't invest a bunch of dollars because somebody says they're going to do something. They need to see a certain amount of work being done, right? Before they say, okay, this project is really going to happen, right? They had been trying to do something with Caraway for the longest, and let's be clear, they still haven't done anything with Caraway, right? So the amphitheater is not built on the Caraway site. The amphitheater is built behind Caraway. And so where those houses were, they've been cleared out and all of that kind of stuff, right? It wasn't built on the Caraway site. So this is a project that's emerging, that hasn't been sold, but they were willing to go forward because Birmingham put up 70% of the upfront money, right? And I was the only one saying that because I looked and studied the policy and how things and the bonds have to be backstopped and all of those kind of things. So you don't have the investors over there right now that you're talking about. The city put that up over there because that's what the city has been doing for these people.
This is a night you don't want to miss. Saturday, September 20th, live at the Tuxedo Ballroom, presented by the Black Contractors Association of Alabama. It's We Are One, a tribute to Frankie Beverly, the young vocals in the movement, featuring Jubu Smith and DJ Chocolate. Come dressed in all white and toast to Black excellence. From 7 to 11, good food, drinks, and unforgettable energy. We Are One, a tribute to Frankie Beverly. Get your tickets now at Black Contractors Association, incac.org or Eventbrite.
All I can do is tell you that when I go to these conferences and I meet with the people that are developing these small towns and turning these small town city centers that you're talking about, these downtown areas, into amazing areas, what they say, right? And they're saying that they can't attract these businesses because there's a formula for their investment. So companies have a formula for their investment. That's all I'm saying, right?
Frank, I'm not a novice at this. I understand that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. Mm-hmm. What I'm talking about is an individual or a perspective that says, I understand what your metrics are. I understand what your considerations are. Mm-hmm. But if we can't leave those communities like that just because.
Oh, no. Who is we?
The city of Birmingham.
I got you.
That's who the we is.
Evidently they can.
No, they're doing it. That doesn't mean they can. What I'm saying is, what would you do about it?
So when they do that, then the people that live in the communities began to move. Okay? Hold on. When Birmingham started neglecting the area, people began to leave.
Okay, I mean,
and so your thought is, And not only people, but businesses began to leave. People that invested their family's money and fortune, they got out while their stuff still had value. And you're saying if Birmingham says, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and they come and start cleaning up downtown Inslee, that those businesses are going to come back, or some other businesses are going to come back. I mean, I think that would be great if it happened. I'm just not sure where that has happened. Because most businesses that provide services want rooftops. And so there's a certain amount of income, certain amount of people, certain amount of folks that they want adjacent to their business, the rooftops. Right?
That's not the debate. That's not my position. Mm-hmm. I understand all that. Mm-hmm. There is a South Side.
Okay.
A business South Side community.
Mm-hmm. Like 5 Point South?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Woodlawn is creating that very kind of thing. It's not totally there, but it's. So my question is, what are we going to do about downtown Inslee? What are we going to do about downtown Wylam? What do we do with those?
And I'm saying to you, I don't know any economic developers that talk about a business district without talking about the entire area. That's what I'm saying to you.
No. We're not debating that. We already know what the metrics are. We already know what their considerations are. What I'm saying is, are you saying we just leave them alone until we can focus on it?
What I'm saying to you, that it's a bigger question. It's not just what are we going to do about the downtown business district. All of that is tied to what's happening around it. So that means that you have to have a redevelopment plan for the whole area.
I can accept that.
That's what I'm saying to you. You're having an isolated plan. So like last night they were talking about what's the plan for public safety? Well, what do you think about the plan for public safety? There is no plan for public safety without a police force that has the capacity to patrol. There is no plan. There are some things that have to be in place and they're interdependent. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying just forget it. I'm just saying that you've got to look at it from an economic development and community development perspective, that they go hand in hand. And that's all. That's the only thing that I'm saying. They go hand in hand.
I mean, I can agree with you that.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying don't do anything, but I'm saying that it has to be a complete plan.
See, I tend to disagree. There are cities that are specific to just transient commerce. They don't necessarily, case in point. Have you ever driven to Tuscaloosa just for dinner or just to eat?
No.
You've never done that?
No.
People do that all the time.
I'm not saying they don't. They do it to Birmingham all the time too.
What would you do to those downtowns in Inslee, Wylam, and such?
All right. So we need private dollars to develop them.
Absolutely. I don't have a problem with that.
All right. So I'm telling you that the people that I know that are doing economic development across the state of Alabama, the people that I know personally that are doing economic development, they say that these are the conditions that we have. You disagree with that. Okay, you're not really disagreeing with me. You're disagreeing with people that are supposed to be subject matter experts. You can do that, but those are the only people that I know that are proven and actually doing it. And so I'm taking their word for it that it has to happen in a certain way. You said it doesn't.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that that's not practical. I'm not saying that at the end of the day there's a metric.
You're saying that it's not practical. I'm saying you just disagree with perhaps that there may be another way. I'm telling you, I don't know of another way right now, except for what these people are actually doing, case studies and the like of what they're doing.
So the business owners in these particular, the ones that have remained or are kind of hanging on, the city just, what do we just say? We can't, you don't have what it takes right now for us to invest any money in this.
Who owns the buildings in downtown Wylam?
I don't know.
Okay, right, so it's private property.
Right.
Okay, so the city, people, businesses revitalize downtown areas.
Correct.
Hold on, not cities, right?
They support it
Right. No,
by giving.
Hold on.
Not only the infrastructure, they give them dollars.
Okay, so they give them some dollars, but the businesses have to make the initial investment into those things, right? So the primary investment in a business area comes from private dollars, not city dollars.
Nah, I don't agree.
Oh, you don't?
No. Here's the context. If the city puts any money in a business that they say would do better here,
So
opposed to there, they've already made a decision to do that. So my question is, why don't we have anybody?
You've already lost me because you've gone outside the scope that I understand. When we developed 4 buildings, right there, 212, 214, 216, 218,
Mm-hmm.
right? $1 million goes in this building, $2 million goes into this building, another $2 million in this building, another $1 million in this building.
Mm-hmm.
The city didn't make the majority of the investment, and they don't. And the city never will make the majority. They'll help you with some gap funding. They'll help you with an incentive. They'll give you tax breaks, but they never make the majority of the funding.
I'm not saying that they do.
You just did a second ago.
No, I didn't say that.
That might have been.
I'm not telling you that they. What I'm telling you is they make a deliberate and an intentional effort to
so they give
choose
incentives.
business. No. They give cash dollars to the development of the business.
Okay.
I know this to be the case.
Now, and what I'm saying to you is that the majority of the money for that business comes from the private sector.
I don't have a problem with that.
You said no a minute ago, but maybe you didn't mean to.
No, I'm not telling you that. We understand. Somebody has to make a commitment to the business, and it's typically the person that wants to invest in the business.
I'm going to agree with you that cities give incentives and tax breaks
and money.
With that, all right.
I mean, literal money.
So yes, and I guess when I said incentives, I was thinking about the money. Okay. So
on the construction or the development.
Right. So, yeah. So I would call that incentive.
And so they decide, you know what? We're going to put that particular building here, and it's going to help this thing.
That?
Apparently, the city.
The city doesn't decide that.
Who decided it?
The person that's building the building. The city didn't decide to put the Harvard building there. Harvard decided to put the building there. And then they come with their plan to the city and ask the city to give certain incentives, tax breaks, easements, whatever. It is the developer. The problem with Fairfield, the why they're dying, is because Fairfield has a mindset that they control what goes into private buildings. And so, we don't want that over here. We don't want that. They don't get to decide what goes in private owned buildings. Right? And Fairfield these last 10 years, they haven't gotten that. Last 8 years, they haven't gotten that.
So you're saying you don't think that ordinances decide,
No, sir.
If you want, and if I want to bring in some kind of...
So brother, the zoning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, so there's a zoning ordinance that says that this is a commercial business area for this kind of use. And let me
for
say
this kind of use.
Correct. And so businesses that when they're looking to place their business, they look at the zoning to decide whether or not this place fits them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if it fits them, they decide to put their building there.
Okay.
Right? There's not a whole lot to pray about. The city, so the city's not making a decision like in real time. The zoning has already said that this is a light industrial place over here. So that means that if you have light or heavy industrial, then this is where you're going to locate. This is just, the city's not making real-time decisions about what businesses go into this area, that area, that area. You can't win that in litigation. That's why when they did their moratorium, the city on storage, the storage fit the zoning, and the storage people eventually won. Economic development doesn't work that way. That's what I'm saying. The city that's not their job. Their job is to serve you, not to make decisions for your company.
That's not what I'm asking you to do.
No. I'm just saying that the city decided to build a building. Cities don't build buildings. Cities don't, right? Companies, private dollars build buildings. That's the way things work. But we don't have these conversations. We don't talk about it. And I hear the city council in Fairfield talking about, I think we want to have this kind of business over here. We want to have this kind of business over here. They don't get to decide that. If the ordinance says that this building falls under this category, then anybody can come with this kind of
I think they know that.
No, they don't, because they held up people from getting things because of that, tied them up in quagmire. And so the people that own those buildings just said, you know what, forget about it. We'll wait till these people die out and we'll focus on our reinvesting in our other businesses around the country. That's the way they do it. And the buildings sit there empty and they decay. And Fairfield sits there wondering what happened. We've got 1 million square feet of retail property that we can't move. And because they don't even understand how economic development really works.
I hear you selling. I want to know what we could do. What can we do for Wyland? What can we do for Inslee? So the few businesses that are there, we're responsible to them too, right?
You are.
So
let me say this: we are. But do you want a whole business district that's been revitalized, right?
Right.
That's what you would want.
Correct.
So what you would have to do is, so here's what I would do. I would gather the business owners of all of these buildings, right? And I would see where they are, if these people would be willing to sell. So they say there were some people that came from New York and they wanted to come down and they wanted to buy the entire strip of downtown Fairfield. They wanted to buy it.
I don't want to talk about Fairfield. We talking about Birmingham. You running for mayor of Birmingham.
No. I'm giving you an example of how it
But
works.
here, what I'm trying, you know what our issues are.
Hold on.
So what are we going to do?
They're the same.
What are we going to do with Inslee? What are we going to do with Wyland?
They aren't any different. The business owners get to decide. We can provide infrastructure, sidewalk, all that kind of stuff and the like. We can do that. The business owners get to decide what happens to their buildings. You don't get to decide what happens to private property.
No.
Right? But you can, so if a developer comes in, or we can attract a developer to come look in to say that we've got some business owners that are amicable to tearing down all of this stuff and starting all over again, or being able to sell you these buildings. And so what they do, you send those developers will send in somebody to see whether or not they can aggregate the properties and all of that. And if
so Frank, what I'm asking though, you say you make policy. I mean, you make programs, policies, and so forth. You can't come up with a program or a policy to help move downtown Inslee and Wyland and all.
You can support it. Government supports development. Government supports it because you don't control other people's private dollars, man.
That's not what I'm asking you to do.
No.
Nobody in there. No business owner or building owner in that or property owner wants to be a part of something that's decaying or declining. Nobody does. So if the city of Birmingham,
tell me what it might look like, because you have something on your mind, right? That the city could do what?
The city could decide. You know what? These areas.
Let's stick with downtown Inslee. Okay.
Inslee.
The city could decide what?
You know what? I think we need to put investment in downtown Inslee to help, spurn, other economic opportunities.
So what might that look like?
That would look like more restaurants. That would look like.
Whoa. So you're saying the city would put more restaurants?
No, the city would incentivize investors or developers or community to come together and figure a way forward to accomplish the policy or the RFI or whatever the case may be. In other words, put it this way: I've been doing or been a part of community development from the contractor side, and I've watched how smaller cities, how their community development is handled. Their community development is handled by Jefferson County. City of Birmingham handles its own. So the question goes to, why couldn't the pocket of the Inslee Business District approach the mayor or the City of Birmingham, if you would? Here's our plan to revitalize downtown Inslee.
Now you're talking.
So what would and I asked you, what would you do?
Hold on. See, so now you're talking. The city supports that initiative.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I asked you what you would do.
And so,
but by the same token, here's what I'm saying.
Let me tell you what cities do to support development in that area. This is what cities actually do. All right. They might have CDBG dollars, community development block grant dollars, that would help, and it would cover just a percentage of the. Hold on, just
Agree.
They might have a loan program. They might put X number of dollars towards the infrastructure of sidewalks and fire hydrants and signs and all of those kind of things.
Sure, and then then the other thing happens is, there are other folks out there that want to see this happen as well, so they now give you money to buy equipment and X, Y, and Z, and next thing you know...
They give who money?
The business.
Okay.
The business.
Yeah.
So the city has, been a part of development. Private folks have been, and as you said, I've got some skin in the game. So you got three people, or three entities, if you would, working to the same goal, which is revitalizing downtown Inslee.
Okay, so I'll say this right here. The city will provide the infrastructure dollars, those kind of things right there, and they will count that as a contribution to the project. 95% of the dollars for the reinvestment may come from, it's the building, so the city can't take their dollars and put them into private buildings and things like that. But they got ways to kick money into the project.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But the city doesn't decide to bring restaurants in. The city could, now you could create a TIF, right? Kind of like what we don't like about the civic center, but you can create a TIF, a tax incentive kind of area. And in that area right there, you're letting these developers know that any dollars that are coming in this area are being reinvested back into this area. And that incentivizes them to do that. The tax dollars being reinvested into continually improving these areas, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. They do that all the time. I'm just very careful on the language we use as far as what a city does and what a city doesn't. They don't decide to build a building. They don't decide to do these things. The stuff that they're doing downtown Inslee with that McCormick building is just so weird, right? People don't even understand it, right? I don't ever expect the city to rebuild that building. I just don't. They don't even have a use for the building now. The people that they said were going to come in when they were going to deconstruct it and bring it down, you can deconstruct a building, okay. But the construction cost of building a building from the ground up, imagine the city building a building with no plan to revitalize that area. No plan to make it vibrant. And now the people that were going to go in there, Rep Birmingham and this nonprofit and the city and the police department and all that, now everybody's backed out of that. So you would be building a building and you don't have any anticipated use for it. But as long as they keep stringing you along, the people along, they're going to rebuild the building and all of that kind of stuff, and they won't even fix the doggone sidewalk, but they're going to build the building, right? I have zero, and let me tell you, economic developers around the state have zero expectation that the city will do that, because it's like building a bridge to nowhere. And so I just think this mayor is lying to you, like he's lying about the crossplex. He can't build. My understanding is the original developer out of Atlanta still has a lien on that property, and he can't build, and so he's just lying. They take a little excavator and another little tractor and put it out there in an outhouse, and everybody's act like we're having a serious conversation. And I think what happens is that we just got to be honest with people, right? We got to be honest.
Are you telling me that they literally can't do construction on that property?
That's what my understanding is. Yes. Not on that area right there.
You wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm clear on what you're saying, because that thing is on the street for construction.
So what now?
It's on the street for construction. In other
What
words,
does that mean?
it's on the street for getting numbers for the project. In other words, the general contractor, the prime whore contractors or construction or whatever, they've sent this out to other subcontractors and other primes to price the work to put the building in.
I got it.
And so if you're telling me that that's all a farce, that at the end of the day you don't even think the building's going to get put in, what are we doing?
Well, I think the last thing the city said will be 18 months from the time that they start moving dirt to when that building's going to be done. 18 months, or 20,000 square foot building. 18 months. You built an amphitheater in 11 months, right? 212,000 square feet building. You build in 11 months. And they're telling you it's going to take 18 months to build a 20,000 square foot building. You're a contractor. See, this is that Birmingham stuff. I don't understand how we can have these conversations, right? That business says that it can't happen, that it's not real. Only in Birmingham can we have these conversations. It's only in Birmingham, right? When you want to redevelop a community, there's a way that you do it, and there's an intentionality that you do it, and you begin to identify developers and the like to say, this is what we want to do as a city, and this is what we're going to do, and you're going to have this beautiful little drawing of green. We're going to have green space going along here, and we're going to have a corridor here. We're going to have that solar farm that's right down there at Inslee Works that Alabama Power is doing. It's going to provide new jobs. We're going to have housing. Here is the plan. That right there just really gets developers or private dollars really, really going, because a lot of the people that own the building don't have the money and resources to develop it on their own, and to develop it even with incentives and even with help. And the city may put the last dollars in, but they're not going to put the first dollars in, right?
No, you got to have skin in the game,
right?
You got to have something.
So they'll help you with the gap, and so they've got gap loans and other kind of loans that are there that they don't.
Yeah, there are other funding sources.
Right. And so well, I'm talking about from the city, right?
Right. The city has this portion.
So the city comes with the last mile kind of stuff, not.
I get that. What I'm asking you is, or the point that I'm making is, these smaller cities, Midfield.
I would love to see all of the Birmingham districts revitalized. I'd love to see them repopulated. I'd love to see the houses cleaned up and people be proud to live in those communities. I'd love to see the restoration of service, of cutting right-of-ways and the like, and hiring the people to clean them back up.
Let me give you
Those
something.
are things that I'd love to see.
Let me ask you this. Based on the way in which they do this with the smaller cities, they tell, first of all, the money, or the Jefferson County is the administrator of the grant, okay? So what happens is, these smaller cities, they don't have the infrastructure to really maintain and run a community development department.
All right.
So what they do,
Can I tell you, that's not actually true. Okay.
What do you mean it's not true?
It's not true. So the way that agencies eat, if $1 million come down for CDBG dollars, 15% goes to administration. That goes to the state to pay for their employees and theirs. And then the county, what they do, if they're not an entitlement city, they'll take 15% for the activity delivery, kind of project management on the CDBG dollars. And that pays for Frederick and a few of the other folks that are down there. That's just the CDBG dollars. But that's not all of them. So that's as far as the county actually goes into economic development for those smaller cities.
I don't know about, maybe I'm not understanding what you said, because as a contractor, I work specifically
I
for
understand.
Jefferson County,
On those projects.
for the residents of Midfield.
Hear what I'm saying? That's not their economic development department of the city. The city still has their own separate economic development.
They don't have economic developments in
Bruh.
Midfield,
Bruh, the city has.
Fairfield,
They do.
that can actually,
Hold on, stop. See, they can actually. So I'm trying to tell you how it works because I know for a fact how it works, and I'm trying to tell you. And that's why when there's a fire station or some other CDBG project, they're managed through the county because these small cities don't have those project management capabilities.
That's what I
and
just
so
said.
the county, the county does that for the CDBG dollars, but they don't do economic development in the other areas of the cities. The cities do their own economic development. Those are just projects, like the state coming down and doing something in your city, but that's not their community development for the cities.
that's not what I'm asking.
And they don't help the city with community development. So
Who
understand.
are you saying? You're saying Jefferson County?
Jefferson County does not help the cities with community development.
I'm confused because.
They build fire stations. They build community centers.
Correct.
Right.
For the community.
Right.
Of that city.
And so what they do is, so Jefferson County, there are 34 cities. That means Jefferson County serves 32 cities to where they project manage the CDBG dollars.
Right.
This year you get a fire department. Next year you get.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying that economic development for a small city is bigger than just them once every 2 years getting a fire department. And so this county does not help them with economic development throughout the year. That's what I'm saying. They come in to project manage the construction of a building, and then they leave. So they offer no economic development or community development services to these cities, just project management for those buildings. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Again, maybe we're talking about it or speaking to different issues. Because
So I
I'm
ran the economic development and community development for Fairfield for 2 mayors. Okay? I'm telling you the way that it goes. And so Fairfield has to set up its own economic development. Right?
correct, Community Development Department.
And community development. The county doesn't run that, is what
I didn't say they ran it. I said they administrated it for those cities.
They don't administrate the community development department or economic development department.
I'm not saying that they fund or pay those people.
No.
That's
not what I'm saying. I'm telling you, that's not language that cities use what you're using.
So let me be clear on what I'm saying. If I'm building a storm shelter for the city of Warrior,
In the city of Warrior.
The Jefferson County administers the building and the acquiring of the storm center.
So they do the project management.
They pay me.
Correct.
They write the scope. They do all of that.
And that's how
because the city doesn't have the capacity to do that. If they did, they would they could manage their own money.
So entitlement cities have the capacity to do that. The way that Jefferson County covers their administrative costs is that they take that 15% from the dollars that come down to
Of course,
the city.
I agree.
Hold on. I just want to be clear. So, but they don't administrate the city's community or economic development departments. They're completely separated.
I'm not saying that they aren't.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm not saying that they.
I'm saying that they don't.
Correct. I'm not saying that they manage the departments of those cities. That's not what I'm saying.
They administrate.
They administrate the grant, the building of and the receiving the funds. That's their job.
Yeah. So they'll do a project and they move around. But as far as
but let me get to why I made that point. Could the business districts, solicit or enlist help from the city in the same fashion? By the way this works is Midfield tells the city or whoever that's a part of helping them to get whatever they need in that city, they tell them what they need.
You talking about the county?
Right. The city of Midfield says, hey, we need X, Y, and Z. We need an expansion on our library. And they say, okay, we'll fund that. The Jefferson County, when they got that big pot of money and you got projects, I want to expand my civics, I want to expand my library, I want to expand my, I want to add a recreation, I want to add a bathroom to the exterior of the recreation center. Mm-hmm. Okay, they submit that to Jefferson County, whatever their person is, whoever, at the time, I think George Bowman was the...
So what they do is they call up Frederick Hamilton. And so at a time, Frederick Hamilton will have all of the cities submit their projects of what they want for the next few years.
Correct.
And so there'll be a fire department here, here. And so there's just a list.
Now,
and they'll let you know what year that they'll build the fire department for you over.
I'm with you. What I'm asking is, since we're building capacity or helping these distressed areas, because they need the help. The downtowns or those places we're talking about need the help. Could their business districts, because they try to get
for help?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
They can't solicit the city for help.
The county, the county that administrates that thing.
No. I'm asking you for the city, for the businesses in those districts. In those areas, Inslee, Wylam, so forth. Can they, the business district, solicit City Hall for funds to help drive economic development for that downtown? Can you do that? Can they do that? And if they did, what would Frank do?
So let me say this. Can they do it? They can.
Okay.
Right? All right. But funds always follow planning. And so the way municipalities work, right? What are the plans for economic development for 2026?
Okay. So is it safe to say there's been no economic development for the last 20 plus years for all those areas?
There's been no planning.
And that's what I'm asking you. What can Frank do about that fact? Mm-hmm. That's been a problem. So if that's a problem, and all these guys got it wrong, obviously, because there's nothing in place. Still, are you telling me that you're going to do the same thing?
So one of the things that I would do, and I've said this, is that for all of our business corridors, I said it last night. Highway 79, Highway 78, Highway 75, 5 Points West, downtown Inslee. I said for all of our community business districts, we would have an economic development plan. Okay? Because right now, Birmingham doesn't have an economic development plan for the growth of businesses and business areas. There is no plan. And so for that reason, if you don't aim at something, you will not hit it, right?
Okay.
All right. So what has happened is they've made a decision to divest and not do that. I think that we need to have an economic development plan. Part of that plan is the study is what will be needed for economic viability in each of those areas.
I can accept that.
Right.
So,
and then we have another piece that has community development, and we have these framework plans. So when I went to Edwin Revelle, who was over engineering, I said, Edwin, you've got all these people meeting and all this kind of things right here for these framework plans. I said, but you have no implementation team. I said, so plans without an implementation team, strategy, timeline, then they're bridges to nowhere.
Okay.
And he said, he understood that it was just a dog and pony show, right? He understood that. We're talking about having to rebuild all this stuff, man. We're talking about it. I think what happens is we wind up looking at what's there, and you start thinking about where do we start? Because I agree, I think you mentioned you can't start everywhere at the same time. And you can't. So you got to make some decisions. Where are we going to start?
We got to start though, because
I'm in agreement, right? We got to start, right? And
because those communities, I mean, they deserve.
I mean, think about this.
They deserve to be able to scale and
The folks on
flourish as
Parkway
well.
East don't have a grocery store. Folks down Top End Wine, they don't have a grocery store. They have the rooftops. All of the things that these companies say that they look for, they have. Nobody putting together a recruitment of inviting developers to come in and all these folks. Nobody's doing that. City's not engaging developer or hiring one to go and recruit. So did you know they have these huge recruiting things of businesses?
Sure.
So when you have an economic development plan, then you go in with your data and your numbers and you go to these places and they come look what's happening in Birmingham and you show them. 5 Points West. We don't recruit for 5 Points West. Why not? We have the most successful Applebee's in the state of Alabama. Everybody that's over there, the Foot Locker, all of them are highly successful because our individual houses may not have the metrics money-wise that they need, but within each block, because it's the most densely populated area in the state, the numbers work, but we're not putting the recruitment numbers together for these economic developers to be able to go recruit. We're not competing, brother, right? And so what happens is the worst get worse, the best get average, the areas, right, that would be best for. We're not even in the game, man. We're not even in the game.
Okay, Frank. We're not in the game.
So I've told you what I would do.
Right.
Right now.
I hear
right?
you. I hear you.
Right. So one, the city needs to have an economic development strategy on how to grow the economy of Birmingham, Alabama.
I agree.
I've said that. To do that, you got to gather information, data, do studies to figure out what those pieces are. That's 2. 3, then you have to prioritize. Where do you begin? Boom, 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 boom. Right? And those folks that they're going to tell us. They're going to come, they're going to put together. Here's where I say we can begin. Let's start getting some wins under our belt.
Is that happening now at any level? I don't know.
I'm telling you, we have no economic development strategy for Birmingham, Alabama. We do have a strategy on how to make money available to certain people for incentives, which, by the way, means cash going into the project.
Absolutely.
We have that, but not for us. We don't have the facade grants. We have it for friends, brothers, in-laws, and outlaws. Did you know that the YMCA is now a housing developer in Roebuck? They just got another $1 million to develop houses. Did you know that? Terry Harville is now a housing developer at the YMCA working with kids. And they're going to build houses all around there, the YMCA. Right? How? Why? Why would we not use developers, our builders, our general contractors? Why would we not use them? Well, we can't get a contract to you, but we can to YMCA. I want you to understand that. This is what we're dealing with. I'm prepared for this stuff, man. I know how it works. I know how to make things work. I know how to utilize the policy.
And
I've watched the errors. I'm seeing what's happening.
I got you.
Right?
I follow you.
It gets so old, man, because it's so simple.
It's work. Listen.
And it's so repetitive.
There is certainly a lot of work to do. And it sounds like you understand the journey that's ahead. Your job is to make sure that everybody else understands it and believes that you have the ability to do what you say you can do. Because everybody says this is wrong, and the question is, do you have the wherewithal to get it done? Because everybody says this is wrong, that's wrong.
I mean, I've told you what to do. These other folks haven't told you what to do.
I agree.
Okay.
You have a point.
I don't want to do this thing like everybody says it's wrong. What you can say, Frank, you've offered a solution and a strategic direction to go. You've offered that. So I don't want to be thrown back over in the group that hadn't offered anything and don't even understand economic development, don't even understand what's going on in the city. Give me my credit of time and talking with you about where we are, what's going on actually in the city, and how do we begin to remedy that. I've told you that we change our economic development department. Instead of figuring out ways to exclude, we start figuring out ways to count people in. I told you we began to create programs that take in the information of the data that's provided by the disparity study, that we find a way to incorporate the recommendations. So when you say get more type of these kind of contracts, then you need to create a plan to do that. I've told you that you do that. I know how to create programs and program models and the like that pass the muster, right? Again, I'm telling you things that I have done, right? And it's tough because I'm in Birmingham to have these kind of conversations, to where when I'm in other places, when I'm in Montgomery, people get it. And when I come here, then we're all on the same playing field. I remember Brandon Hill used to get upset. He said, how in the world does somebody become an engineer and a program project manager, and they have no experience, no training, no anything, and in Birmingham you can just declare that this is what you are. And it used to drive him batty. He thought that you should have skill, that you should have training and the like. I've been prepared. I can't apologize for having been prepared. I can't apologize for understanding how the state, county, and cities interact when it comes to CDBG dollars. I understand it. I understand how difficult it is with a limited budget for cities to try to do community and economic development. So what do I do? I create programming for them to support them, right? So I've got organizations that work with small cities to help develop their economic development capacity, to put together a doing business in this small city, because they don't have anybody to help them. And so we're doing those things. Statewide partnerships with small businesses through the chambers, over 100 chambers of commerces and those kind of things. Those are things that I'm doing.
Hey, you should be applauded for that. That's why we did this tonight. We need people to know what it is you do, what you're going to do, as you said, and how you see moving this thing forward. The city, we could all agree, needs to be pushed and challenged to do more, to rise. I don't think anybody, even the incumbent, would believe that we are where we need to be, or he shouldn't anyway, as a community.
I gotta tell you again, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Why have I gotta push you to do what you're supposed to do? Why in the world do I have to push someone to do what their job is? To take care of our communities, to take care of our businesses, to make sure that our business districts are vibrant, that you remove any obstacles and things, not create obstacles, not divest in the community. Why do I gotta prove that? Why do you gotta push me to do that? Right? If we're in corporate America, it would have lost their job, right? I'm the type of person, man.
Results are, at the end of the day, that's what people are looking for.
Absolutely.
They're looking for results. Everybody, I don't understand how, these guys, they run for these offices, like you said, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z.
I think that they really want to, some of them. I really do. I really think that a lot of times. So guess what? I want to be a GC. But I have no idea of what the cost is for being a GC. And after you work all day like a dog, somebody's got to come back and do the numbers and look ahead. And so your family goes to bed and you're sitting up in your kitchen going over numbers. And then you got a full day's work to do the next day. People don't know the cost, but they're there. And we hire people that aren't prepared. Fortunately, you have some skill level, you have some training, you've had some mentoring and that kind of deal, so you're able to put things together and survive. But when you haven't had that, what do you do? And I think that's where we are. We haven't sent our best and we haven't sent our brightest. And many of them don't want to because they're like, I don't want to deal with this. And corporate things are the way they're supposed to be. We got our own set of problems, but at least there are some things that are constants, right?
Well, hey, listen, I enjoyed this.
Did you for real?
I really did. I mean, really.
Right.
I mean, this was pretty engaging. I think we've covered a lot of subject matter, and I think people are going to hear more about what your perspective is and where you find us or where you see us at this point, and how, like I said, how we can get and navigate
let me
this
say
thing to
this:
success.
we can turn it around. Things can turn around. We have the resources. It's not a money issue. We have the resources to do it. I think we got to be smart. I think we got to build on success. I think we got to repair the reputation of Birmingham, Alabama. And I think as businesses start coming in and they start having good experiences, being able to get a business license, being able to get a permit, being able to get some things done, one-stop shop kind of deal. And so, man, this was really great.
Hey,
Right.
At the end of the day, I'm glad we got it in.
But there are some cities you probably don't like working in.
Absolutely.
Okay, right? And so
Absolutely.
that's
For
what
one reason or another.
That's what I'm saying. But there are others you're like, man, they got it together.
Yeah.
I want Birmingham to be one of those places, man, where you said, man, we got it together.
All right. Well, hey, listen, we thank you again for coming and spending
Absolutely.
the evening with us. We're going to continue to talk to other candidates that are concerned about what it is that, they're going to do to help move the city forward. Again, we want to say thank you for joining us. You could have been doing something else. And I think Frank would probably appreciate you taking the time to see what we got, or what he has in store for us as it relates to getting us there. So again, I want to thank you again. My name is JARROD Sims. I'm the BCPN Black Contractor News Podcast host. We're going to see you next time. Again, make sure that you give these people the questions. Make sure you set expectations. Again, my name is JARROD Sims. I want to thank you again for just making sure that your voice matters. It's important that these candidates come out and talk to us and tell us, what their vision is and how they see, what they understand as the issue, how they see correcting those things. We need a way forward, and hopefully we'll find that in somebody. But again, we are pleased that these people are at least trying to take the approach of having you listen. That shows that they care what you think. If they show up here, they care what you think. This is not about the black contractors, trust me. We are a part of the broader community. We know that our job is to engage the community. That way, you know exactly what our needs are. We try and help motivate and inspire the next generation. So this ecosystem that Frank talked about, we are part of helping to develop that.
That's right.
We all believe that we are one community. We are one community. We are one community that is needing development, and I think we're ready to galvanize that. So again, thank you for joining us. Before we go, we're going to let Frank close us out by telling us how to, get him some support about his website, and we're going to let him close this real quick, and then we'll come back.
First of all, I want to say thank you, because when it comes to what needs to be done in this city, preparing the next generation workforce, giving our kids something to lose so that they don't lose their life in the street, our contractors are essential. They've got to grow to provide jobs that pay a living wage that help our children. So I see you all as important part of the strategy. I'm not just trying to be pro-black in that sense of, oh, this is the right thing to say. No, our kids, we need you to grow and provide opportunities. I'm Frank Woodson. I've had a tremendous amount of experience in how the executive side of government works. Not the legislative, creating policy and that kind of deal, but how do we win with the policy? My website is frankwoodson.com. That's frankwoodson.com. You'll see some of those things on there, are my platform items and how we're going to get there. And visit our Facebook, and you can hear some of the talks that we have about how we're going to make sure that we build a city that works for you. Jared, thank you for the time. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you again, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Black Contractors News Podcast, presented by the Black Contractors Association, Alabama Chapter. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest videos. See you next time.
This is a night you don't want to miss. Saturday, September 20th, live at the Tuxedo Ballroom. Presented by the Black Contractors Association of Alabama. It's We Are One, a tribute to Frankie Beverly, the young vocals in the movement, featuring Jubu Smith and DJ Chocolate. Come dressed in all white and toast to Black excellence. From 7 to 11, good food, drinks, and unforgettable energy. We Are One, a tribute to Frankie Beverly. Get your tickets now at Black Contractors Association, incac.org, or Eventbrite.